Good morning, folks. We are live. We are on TV in Texas and Louisiana, and we are bringing you the best in finance, funding. We're doing crypto. Of course, we've been in crypto for over 10 years, and we like to do precious metals. And we'll have Bruce Porter Jr. joining us soon. I'm David Porter. Bruce is my older brother. He keeps us busy. And then we have Matthew Dixon doing the market watch for us, and that is some of the most important things you can listen to if you're a trader. We've had some pretty big success utilizing his Avai .io platform, and even in just in the last week, we've seen tremendous moves in the Bitcoin market. And here is Bruce Porter Jr. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Good morning, Texas. Good morning, Louisiana. Good morning, world. David, how are you, brother?
Yeah, doing well. And staying busy. I was up last night watching the markets, making some moves, having some fun, and everything is well.
Very
How
nice.
was your night in New Jersey there? I saw you speaking as well.
It was great. You know me, I love to speak, and what a great crowd we had there. A great bunch of people, really. You know, it's pretty interesting. Our good friend Randy, of course, set that up for us. You know, Randy, he is really the king of meetups, and
Yes.
he's been doing a wonderful job, really for the longest time. Great guy. Can't say enough good about him. Even you know, those friends where you might even have some rough patches along the way, and you got your friends. You know what I mean? Like if you had to go into battle, or if you had to do something, you'd want Randy there with you. So hats off to him, and he did a great job bringing that together. It's one of the first. They're starting this Crypto Mondays in New Jersey, and so it was one of the first ones, and it really just had this, honestly, this historic feel to it. I mean, it's a gathering of like-minded people, and that's what I tell people. You know, and you say the same thing, but I've said it all over the world. We all have the same thing in common. We believe in privacy, we believe in ownership, and we believe in freedom. Those three things, we all believe in those three things, and so we can agree on that. It doesn't matter who you vote for, or who you're voting for, or any of that stuff. Although most people are kind of, you know, I mean, at this point, anyway. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. That, and then of course, you know, that everybody wants the same things, like I always say, right? They want a future for their family, they want prosperity, and they want their future generations to have the same thing. And that is universal. That is universal around the world. Doesn't matter. You go to the rice paddy place over there in Vietnam, or you go to the Middle East or the Caribbean or Latin America, Antarctica. That's what everybody wants. We all want basically the same things. Good morning. And
Right.
you know, and so that brings us all together. But yeah, it really did. It had that historic feeling. You know, we're in historic times.
Exactly. And we're uncommon people. We're some of the most uncommon people you'll see. And that's what makes us unstoppable. And I think you're tuned in because you're supposed to watch. And this is your calling, you know, it's special times going on, and that calls for special people. And one of the things I saw last night watching the Smart Money Culture TV with Fly Mackey was this business plan he has built out for his network, and what he's looking to do over the next couple years on this TV broadcast is pretty cool.
I'll tell you what, Fly is he is the man with the plan, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Man with the plan. Fly Mackey, the crazy Indian guy, or not Native American, or however I'm supposed to call him, out there in whatever state he's in. No, I think he's in Arizona or something at the moment. Of course, the stations are in Texas, but yeah, he's on. You see him sometimes driving around there on the Indian reservation, just going live, talking about his plans to take his hostile takeover of the civilized world. Not really.
Well, he loves the business world, of course, and he's been successful, and definitely a great guy to learn from. He also wants to venture out into different areas. and definitely a show that you want to watch and get involved with.
Well, make sure that you visit us on smartmoneyculture.tv, and you can watch all the live shows. So if you're not in Texas and catching the show live, or in Louisiana and you're just watching our live stream somewhere around the world, then you can go to smartmoneyculture.tv, and he's got the live stream, and you can meet face to face. And I'm sure I'll hop on a call with you as well. And if you play in that arena where you want to throw some money around, but 6 figures and up, and don't make it your last 6 figures, okay? If you have $250,000 to play with, let's use half of it or something like that. But he is really doing an amazing job of putting this together and growing the stations. Soon, David, very soon, we will be in front of 50 million people. That's the plan.
Yes, I'm excited, and we will prosper and push forward.
We will prosper and we'll push forward. We'll have bigger meetings too with Randy. Fun.
We'll buy more precious metals.
Well, it was really funny. So I went there last night. Of course, it's not far. I drove, and
yeah, we saw that.
Yes, and I don't know if I was supposed to change that or not. I was looking for the other one. So I drove. It's not far. It's like 3 hours. I mean, sometimes I'll fly, but the flights were it was ridiculous. So I drove, and in 3 hours, you can't, you go in and out of the airport. It's 3 hours, right? So, and then I got done, and I thought, well, I figured I'd probably stay the night, but I don't know, man. I just, you know what? And so I just turned around and drove home.
Okay. So you did the whole turnaround there. I didn't realize you drove home. That's a long day. 5 a.m. to probably midnight or so, huh? After midnight.
Yeah, it's true. But like I said, I felt the moment and then just popped back. The thing is, these are all New Yorkers and New Jersey people, and you know how they are. It's like they're gonna be up all night anyway. So I'm like, there's no way I'm getting to sleep at any early time anyway. So I might as well just go home and sleep in my own bed, and get a little bit of sleep at home, and then do our show in the morning, which I really like to do. It's going back and forth with Matt on chat this morning, Matt Dixon. Everyone's pretty excited about what we're doing. I know we'll pick up a few people watching the show as well. The shows, I should say. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun doing it. It's a lot of fun sharing our knowledge and our insight and our experience that we have. Have a lot. Speaking of all that, to touch on some of the markets here, let me just share my screen. What we have going on here. And I know Matt's got some fun stuff to share. It's been a crazy couple of hours. Few hours. Let's start just looking at this chart here. And then I won't chart too much because, of course, Matt's our charter. Bitcoin. Look at that. I've heard that up nicely. Oh, yes. It's so nice. Kind of had the idea that I would short somewhere in here. Decided that was a bad idea at a certain point. Anyway, let's see here. I was able to get out fairly unscathed. Well, it'll peak here, and I'll just short and do a little scalp. Okay, you don't win them all, though. You just have to win most of them. All right, just over some of the markets here. Ethereum is up 1.6%. Bitcoin's up 2.5%, which on a big asset like this is starting to be a bigger and bigger move when it moves like this. We used to have like 20% days and stuff like that, but it doesn't really happen so much anymore these days. I'll just run through these kind of real quickly here. There's my tab. Okay. The Dow, the NASDAQ futures are flat. Stocks overall are kind of, well, Dow and NASDAQ is flat. Oil, natural gas are hedging up. And this is like while I was putting out my post this morning, really started happening. Oil was at 76, now 77. Natural gas, copper. Gold is up again. Silver's flat today, but it did gain 5% on the week, which is a pretty nice week for silver. Let's see here. Asian markets down overall, which is kind of interesting. Of course, we have the a lot of stuff going on in the world. Hang Seng is down 2%, which that's the Hang Seng moves though. Oh, and I thought this was interesting. Let me play this. This is Eva something or the other. She's talking about the farmers and why they're protesting. So let me play this real quick. I thought it was fairly interesting.
I've given this so much thought because so many people have asked me why would they do this? It doesn't make sense. Explain it. Why would you come after the most hardworking sector, the most lucrative sector, the people that provide you with food? Why would you shut down your nuclear plants if you are to import electricity for I don't know how much more the price? Why? And I think it was Carl Jung actually who said, if you can't understand someone's actions, you have to look at the consequences and infer the motive. And that's what I've done with all of this. If the consequences of their policies are that we become poorer, and we, not they, obviously, but we, if we become poorer, we become more dependent on them. We basically essentially would starve if this is put through, and we don't have the financial means anymore to import our food. And I don't know, God forbid a disaster happens, we've outsourced everything, we could be in real trouble. Well, if those are the consequences, then apparently that's the motive. Maybe I've become too cynical, but I find it very difficult to explain it any other way, because this is not a one-time mistake. These people are the net zero scam, and I would really call it a scam, is something
it's a criminal scam.
Yes,
it's
well,
a criminal
actually,
scam.
Yeah,
it's not just a scam.
It is it is criminal, and I think that it is of the worst type of injustice if a government and the people who are supposed to represent us, talking about democracy, liberal democracy and all, if those people turn their backs on their own population, and not just turn their backs, but actively, again, go against their interests and allow them essentially, if things go wrong, to become poor and to starve. And I can't see... I see true evil behind these acts. I don't just see incompetence anymore.
It's worse than that, Ava. It's worse than that even, because I was speaking with someone the other day, one of my podcast guests, who said that their sampling has indicated that young people now think about climate apocalypse 3 or 4 times a day. Right? They're literally obsessed by it. And we know perfectly well that demoralizing insistence that all human striving is planet destroying, patriarchal ambition and has to be brought to a halt. Not only does it risk economic catastrophe, really right down to the fundamental level in the way that we've been describing, but it's also demoralized an entire generation of people and made them afraid, terrified, like Chicken Little, that the sky is falling, even when the IPCC itself, who are hypothetically the people that are on top of the appropriate data, have indicated nowhere in their documentation that we're facing anything approximating a true emergency.
So anyway, just thought it was interesting. We've talked about the farmers protesting. I think everybody, we all see it. I don't think they show it on mainstream media, but us on X, we all see that stuff. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And what a lovely girl this Eva is, huh? Eva something other. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. We'll talk more about it. Let's bring on Matt Dixon. Sir Matt, I know he's got a lot to say today. What a fun 24 hours it has been. How are you, Matt?
Absolutely fine. Yeah, good to see you. Great to be on again. So today we are going to talk about inflation, because obviously tomorrow, tomorrow is actually Fed rate setting day. It's the big
Fed
day.
bashing day tomorrow.
Yeah, well, we can do a little bit of Fed bashing today, because I think they're not always ahead of the curve. In fact, they're always behind the curve. They do everything too little, too late. like one of those big cruise ships, when they're trying to turn and they basically, they take action, they expect it to turn immediately. It doesn't happen for ages. And I don't think the Fed seems to have realized this yet, that the actions they take, it actually takes many months to really filter into the economy. And so they should probably be taking action now for what's going to be happening later this year. And all the signs have been out there saying that recession is coming. The economy is slowing. And this inflation that we've got has been externally driven. It was driven because prices were driven higher by what was going on with Russia-Ukraine war in particular. And, driving up fuel prices, grain prices, because Ukraine's one of the big grain baskets of the world. So it was driving up prices, driving up inflation, but it's externally driven. So why would the government want to hurt all of its own consumers by raising interest rates dramatically when interest rates actually weren't the things that were affecting grain prices and fuel prices? It was the war. And yet they raised all the interest rates, making everybody's lives so much more expensive. Your credit cards more expensive, your home loans. I mean, at least you have more fixed rate home loans than we do, but certainly in the UK we have flexible rates. So that's really hurting the people by raising these rates. But why? You've got to ask. So I've been taking a look today at what they've all been up to, the Fed have been up to. So I'll present my screen. And we'll
what have they been up to? I think they've been plotting on how to take everybody's money. I mean, it has, and I won't go on too long about it, but it's kind of like trapped everybody as well. Like people feel like they can't move. I mean, hopefully you're in your house and you have a good you either paid for it or you have a good rate or whatever else. But everybody feels stuck one way or the other. Either they feel like they can't buy, or they feel like or they can't move. Like they're stuck where they are.
Yeah. So I don't know whether you can see my screen there. Can you, Bruce?
Not yet. And here we go. There.
Gotcha. The Fed press conference.
Yeah. So we've got the rate decision. The last time they changed rates was July last year. We've been on hold since then. And there's about a 90% chance they're going to hold again tomorrow. But what's really important to markets is the expectation. As I said yesterday, in the news conference that comes after the rate decision, they'll be giving, they'll be questioned, they'll be pinned down and questioned what is the expectation for, things moving forward. So this really makes a difference because it makes, it's about how expensive it is for business, running business in the future. Now the CPI, Consumer Price Index, is currently at 4%. Now that's twice the target rate, but it came from over 10.5% last December. When I say last December, I mean 2022. So from 10.5%, so inflation was absolutely rampant. It's down to 4%, but it's still twice the target rate. But what I'm going to put forward today is that I think they're actually looking, actually they admit, to be fair, they do admit that PCE inflation is a much better measure of the real inflation that we're experiencing. And PCE inflation is currently 2.93% and dropping. So it's looking as though inflation is very much under control, but we'll take a little look at
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of kidding, but not really.
Yeah. So here's a look at the US inflation, basically consumer price index, and we can see less food and energy is the one here. So basically, when you take out food and energy, the inflation is at 4%. So leaving food and energy in, and I would argue that the one that leaves food and energy in is actually a much better measure that we would use because it reflects what our daily expenditure is, food and energy. They're two large parts of our expenditure. So it makes sense that inflation is much lower than this 4% thing, which is, the Fed are focusing on. They're being very hawkish, saying inflation is not yet under control. And I would argue, as I say, that inflation was externally driven. We shouldn't have pushed rates quite as high as we did because it wasn't overconsumption that was causing it. It was actually the supply side, not the demand, but the supply side. If you just think about it, when you've got excess demand, you want to lower that demand by rising interest rates. But when you've got diminished supply, raising interest rates just gives more pain to the people, and it's not the real way to lower rates. The real way was to solve the issues going on in Ukraine, Russia. Whether that's solvable, I don't know, but that was actually where the attention should have been, where the focus should have been. But here's an interesting one, looking at the US national debt, shows it as 33 trillion there. This is a little bit out of date. It's now 34 trillion.
Oh, yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why, cynically thinking why they may be keeping interest rates higher and potentially, the thing is, they probably want higher inflation, I should say, because it inflates the debt away, and they've got this humongous debt, 34 trillion debt mountain that there's no way of tackling it. You can see the way it's just accelerated exponentially, getting really out of control. So some have argued that the US are controlling world affairs, and maybe they allow some of these events to go on around the world because it allows them to control money effectively. And I think we all have those thoughts at the back of our mind.
Yeah. If we could just touch on that real quick, because I wanted to make a point and just bring it to everyone's attention. So what Matt just talked about was that a strategy that is likely being used is to dilute the debt that is out there. So if there's debt, then if you make a bunch more money and you dilute the debt, then obviously it's not as much as a burden. And then as well, I agree with you. It was one of the things that we spoke about last night as we were sending, I guess, Biden is taking us into Iran. And everyone's like, well, he doesn't need Congress. And I'm like, well, of course he doesn't need Congress. This is what I talk about every day, guys. Central bank's going to give him the money. It doesn't matter. And but part of us being in all these wars is kind of like you said, and I know the UK, I feel like is are one of our partners in it. But yeah, we assert our currency and everything else. It's all part of it. I firmly, and that's why one of the reasons why the central bank always funds the wars. They're all bankers' wars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said before, sad to say and sad to hear, but war is good business. Very good business for America, for all the arms suppliers. And it's one of the reasons I think that wars are kept kind of in balance, or they try to keep them in balance around the world. And also, as I say, it could be a much bigger picture in terms of managing inflation, monetary policy. We sometimes, I've accused them of being incompetent and they don't know what they're doing, they can't predict. But actually, as I said, the other side to it is they probably know exactly and precisely what they're doing. And clearly they're not stupid. They know what they're doing.
Clearly.
So, there's worries for us, as the ordinary people, as you said on your video just now, or as it's mentioned on the video. Us ordinary people are the ones that actually have to carry the can and deal with all these policies and things that happen. So you can see here the massive debt to GDP ratio. It's unsustainable long term, and they need to find ways, and they probably will find ways to deal with that debt, whether it's through inflation or whatever. But I think that the big elephant in the room, the big worry that's coming is actually deflation. So the big worry is if you have stagnant growth or recession effectively and deflation, you've got stagflation, and that is the worst of all worlds. And that's something we really don't want. And that's what I fear may be coming down the line. So that's why long term, I think there's going to be some reasonable concern over risk assets and what's going to happen there. But short term, we just need to trade what's in front of us, and they're going to, as we said, election year, they're going to print more money, and they're going to continue to inflate the debt. And America can do that because they're the world reserve currency. Everything currently is priced in US dollars, so they can do what they want. But we know that there are moves afoot within China, within Russia, within Iran, to actually change the world reserve currency to try to look at other ways, other denominations to dominate these assets that are traded around the world. And just interestingly, again, if you look at the actual expense or cost of servicing this debt, we're now over $1 trillion a year just in interest payments.
Yeah.
To the Fed.
It's crazy. It's more than they take in. I think they're trying to take in. They took about 900 billion, excuse me, give or take, last year in federal income tax. I think they're trying to almost double that this year. I think they're trying to take in like 1.4 or something. That's why they hired all the new agents and everything like that. But it's an astronomical number. I mean, to think that that is, and then every dollar, of course, that they're printing up or making up comes with debt attached to it. So we'll never pay that off. Use on this current system that we have.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is why I think we are in for some period of turbulence in coming years, because these things are unsustainable. They've kicked the can down the road since 2008, and the actual crisis should have happened back in 2008, but
Right.
They basically papered over the cracks by printing money. And printing money does not create productivity, as we've discussed before. It just covers over the cracks, but it's not a solution. So we're still suffering from that, and they're going to have to print more and more and more money until eventually they'll be forced to face the problem. They could have faced the problem probably back in 2008. Yes, it would have been very painful. And yes, we'd have seen some banks go under, but we're actually seeing a lot of banks go under now, but it's just not in the big news. So it would have been painful, but it's best to face the pain early before the wound really festers and gets really, really bad. You get sort of, a real big problem. You best to deal with.
That's why we have bankruptcy laws. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go bankrupt. If you did a bad job, or even if you didn't do a bad job, sometimes it doesn't work out. You go bankrupt. You're able to use that law, and then you can start something else if you want to. That's the way it works. Otherwise, we just keep bailing people out. People know that if they don't make money, they can just, and that's how we get into the whole, even these corporations turn into the administrative state as well. I mean, we have the administrative state that basically runs our countries, and now the corporations are basically administrative states too. And this is one of the reasons why, because people don't have to worry about getting fired or finding a new job because they're going to get bailed out.
Yeah. So this is something I uncovered. It's put together by independent researchers, and it's something called Trueflation. This is looking at US inflation. And it's actually a much better measure of inflation, because the inflation that really matters to us isn't some fixed formula that the US government might use. And the US government have actually admitted, they've admitted that PCE is a better measure. But Trueflation, there are analysts and economists out there that actually do this in a much better way, I think, looking at the data on a daily basis and the data of what we actually pay for, what we really pay for goods as a nation. And they've estimated that the true inflation is actually 1.81% currently. And that would tell us that it's below the target rate, the Fed's target rate. So that would be telling us that actually they should already be lowering interest rates. Now, we've already said they're not going to lower rates tomorrow. If they do, it'll create an amazing surprise in the market. It's not going to happen. So rates will stay on hold tomorrow, and yet the real data is telling us they should already be lowering rates. And by not lowering rates, they're bringing recession on the economy. That is going to come later this year.
Now, how does that play in? I mean, obviously, you go to the grocery store and something like this. I mean, the inflation is very apparent. So 1.81 is saying since when? Since the first of, this is for
that's the annual rate, basically year-on-year change updated. So in fact, I know we've seen the goods, the price of goods go up so much in stores, but we probably haven't noticed, because some things are still going up in price, but we probably haven't noticed energy prices have come down. Food prices, and again, I was going to show a basket of food prices, how much they've come down, and a lot of food prices are coming down now. So we are now beginning to see. I wish I'd put that one on, because I can't remember which items of food. But there's a lot of staples that are actually coming down in price now, and that's why inflation is falling. So, as I say, the inflation was mainly externally driven, and we've now got interest rates which are really beginning to hurt the economy, beginning to hurt real people, beginning to hurt business, because business relies on affordable interest rates, affordable money, and money at the moment isn't affordable, so business is beginning to stagnate. And we're seeing the first signs. It's not really filtered through yet into employment, but it will do. And we're going to start to see the economy slow and fall back into recession. That, I believe is the base case for what's going to happen this year. So sooner or later, the Fed will need to lower rates. They're not going to lower rates this time. So this time, they're probably still going to be hawkish. Let's see what they say tomorrow. But I think they're still probably going to be saying, they've got 4% inflation, CPI, twice the target rate. They're probably still going to say, oh, we still haven't got inflation under control. That would not be good for risk assets very short term. But I think the penny will soon drop. The message will soon come out that they will be lowering rates. They're pivoting sooner rather than later. And I believe that by March, that's the next Fed rate meeting. I think by March, they most probably will start to lower rates. I think the pivot actually downwards will be in March. If not, they'll certainly be signaling that the next rates change will be downwards. Bear in mind that the Fed chair said that in 2023, towards the end of 23, he said they're expecting one more rate rise to come. Now, he's going to have to step back on that. They're not going to do another rate rise unless something crazy happens in the world. There's not going to be any more rate rises. The next rate moves are downwards, which is actually good for risk assets. So yes, short term, tomorrow, they may come out a little bit hawkish, which may hurt risk assets very short term. But once they start to ease monetary policy, normally in the early stages of a recession, the economy gets hit a little bit. But as they lower rates and try to stimulate the economy, that's usually good for risk assets. So I think this is really good. And you've got to be careful about where you put your money. You see, if you're getting 10% return on your money, you've got $1 million invested, you're getting $100,000 a year, sounds like a pretty good income. But if inflation was, it was actually over 10% in December 2022, as we said. So if inflation is actually deflating the spending power of your money, you're actually you're not even getting an income, you're actually losing money in real terms and you're spending it, you're in a terrible situation. So it is important for them to keep inflation under control and for us to identify the right mix of assets to give us the returns that we need to support our lives, basically.
Yep.
There's Bitcoin, just how it's reflecting on Bitcoin. I've actually been trading this. You said you went short from this A wave here, or you thought about it, but you thought better of it.
I did. I wrote it up, and then I entered a short, and it kept going up, and I said, all right, never mind. Okay,
I caught it beautifully, and it's actually the extension was exactly on the 0.618 of the previous move up. You can see.
Yes, and actually, to be clear, if I had shorted higher, it was the right play. It just went higher than I thought. If I had shorted from the top, which it did have a nice pullback, and I was trying to ride that down. I wrote it up nicely, but then the biggest what's the biggest mistake we make is entering a trade too early, right? It's normally the thing. That's what I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's really I know you're quite an experienced investor, but even so, a professional, the professional investors, they really focus. I mean, you've got your day job with the news and media and everything that you do. You probably haven't got quite the time to spend on analyzing the markets and identifying the right areas of support and resistance to put your risk and your reward is very, very important. So I did manage to get in right at the top of that A wave and actually got in before the bottom because, as Warren Buffett always said, probably the most successful investor of all time, value investor, he always said the big mistake he made, and this was tongue in cheek, that he always sold too early or closed his position too early or whatever. Well, that's a great bit of advice for us. Don't try to squeeze the last bit out of every trade. Get in maybe just before the top, but get out before the bottom and try and be a bit more conservative. And that's what I did. And then I actually did jump in long and I've been riding this market up. But I actually really love trading coming up to a rate decision because the markets tend to be a little bit more predictable. They tread water a little bit before the big rate decision comes out. But I don't hold positions through a rate decision because anything can happen. Literally anything can happen. And just depending on the words that they say. So I'll be out of everything, as that rate decision is delivered tomorrow. But I am expecting, I I think most probably we're going to get a slightly hawkish commentary, which could push the market down a little bit short term. But as I say, longer term, I think the markets are going to be liquidity is going to be easing a little bit. We're going to see more money in the economy, I should say, and that would be good for risk assets. So that's that. And then just finally, I touch on eBay, our own token, the eBay ratings platform. It's had a phenomenal run just lately. I was expecting it to go well because I know all the news, all the developments that are going on behind the scene, and we're going to be focusing on it as well. And the performance has been absolutely outstanding. So just looking at the very recent performance, 1 month 25%, sorry, 1 week 48%, a month 25%, year to date, so that's from January 30%, and 6 months 66%. Not to say that will happen again in the future, just saying for those people who did get in at the bottom, in fact, when they got in at the very bottom, they're already up 5x on their investment. And that was only 6 months or so, well, something like that, 5 months ago. The developments are looking good. I think it's going to create a standard across the industry for rating digital assets. And that's why I think there's a big future there for eBay. So, that's the summary.
Congratulations on that. And it's been a long road. These types of things they don't happen overnight, and there's ups and downs and there's all arounds. And it's really the when I talk to people about what they should be getting involved with and whatnot, I tell them, look at the team, are they still involved? Do they have an active GitHub repository? Are they doing things? Are they talking? Are they doing shows? Are they, what I mean? And these types of things you can look at. So I'm sure that's going to continue. I'm confident that's going to continue to pay off. And make sure, guys, to check out eve.io. You can register there. And I know you guys are updating that platform as well.
It's quite interesting when you said look at the team. I mean, that is one of probably the most important things that you can do is look at the team behind it. And you can even do that using AI these days. AI is, we talked about it, about how amazing it is, how transformational it will be for business and economy and every aspect of life pretty well. And you can use AI to look at the team and, use keywords and all that kind of thing. We can, there's so many different tools available now. It's not all, the hard due diligence and research. You can actually use technology these days to do an awful lot for you. Still do your DD, still do everything that you need to do, but actually use technology just to make the job that much easier and that much more efficient, to make better informed decisions.
Awesome. Amazing. This is the Bitcoin chart we have up here. Yeah, this is it's nice.
Yeah.
So do you think we will fill in this gap that we have this push, or is there just so much money and interest in here that I guess tomorrow we might have.
It all depends. This is going a little bit technical probably for this show, but this movement here is what's called a triangle. It's an Elliott wave triangle, A, B, C, D, E. Now, if it is indeed a triangle, then this move up is what's called corrective, and we have to have a move down to below this point here. So the big question is, between analysts now, is this a triangle, or is it some simpler kind of correction, wave 2 correction? A triangle cannot form in a wave 2 position. That's why this is so important, because if it's wave 2, that means this could be an impulse higher, and it could mean we have much, much higher to go. So it all revolves around this here. And I think tomorrow will probably give us an answer to this. There's no absolute answers when it comes to technical analysis, and that's why we do need to look at the fundamentals, what drives the actual. Don't forget, technical analysis is driven by the real world at the end of the day. So TA people say, oh, it's all driven by TA. Well, no. TA, what moves prices, because you're looking technical at historical data. Yeah, historical data is driven by fundamental data. So that's why we're so interested in the Fed. So I'll be tuning in tomorrow. I think we need to be very much attuned to what the Fed is saying tomorrow, because it's absolutely key.
Every day is Fed bashing day. Just kidding. I'll probably get Jerome on the show and we'll be nice to him.
Oh, that would be a good one. You'll definitely up your figures to your 5 million then.
50 million.
Sorry, 50 million. What am I talking about?
5 is just so small. Anyhow, well, Matt, we always appreciate the analysis. It really is something else. I know a lot of people now are they're telling me that they're tuning in. It's one of their favorite parts, and they look forward to it every day.
Yeah, I mean, blow my own trumpet. I have to say, we've actually got every call right so far on this show. Especially the break in this triangle. I mean, you're talking about really good percentage out of this triangle, and we said it's going to break higher out the triangle, and look at the blast higher. So, and we're expecting probably a little bit of a push up, maybe till tomorrow's news, but then. From a risk reward perspective, I'll be potentially looking at shorting, not recommending or advising. And I use very tight risk reward, so you don't take big risks on this. But I'd be looking probably, if they come out hawkish, let's just listen to what they say. If they're hawkish, then the market's going down.
Yeah. It's kind of set up for it to go down. That was the other thing I was thinking last night. So I'm down there in Jersey, I'm talking, and everything else, and the market's just pumping and everything. And I'm like, man, this feels like a setup for the pullback. And so, of course, the Fed knows, he probably has his speech written already. So Jerome knows what he's going to say. All the people around him know what he's going to say. There's pillow talk. There's people know if it's going to be hawkish or dovish, right? And so what a nice move to push the market up.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously
nice setup for short.
Yeah, obviously that's the main fundamental driver, but we do know that supply and demand is the ultimate driver, and we just heard yesterday that the big Chinese group Harvest are looking at getting their own regulated ETF, which again will channel more money into Bitcoin. So I think whilst we may see a correction down, because everything always goes, it's a little bit unpredictable short term. But long term, it looks as though the demand for Bitcoin is just going to continue to grow and to grow. And with that limit of 21 million, unlike the fiat that we just looked at with the massive debt mountain, Bitcoin's 21 million with more and more and more demand coming in. If they get this Chinese ETF approval, then that will channel a massive amount of money into Bitcoin again. So you've got to be very careful. If you go short this market, with the going short, you've actually got potentially infinite losses. So going short is really only for professionals, I would say. A very, very dangerous game, and very dangerous to think about going short Bitcoin when the fundamentals, the demand supply metrics are so strongly in its favor.
It's true. It's very true. It's always risky business to short Bitcoin. Short, it's your own risk. No, it's really be careful, guys. The other thing that we had yesterday that probably fueled the market. I feel like every time that there is a big military type of a deal goes on, you have a lot of the the big part of the U.S. economy that either already has the money or they know they're going to have the money soon, and then a lot of that money will flow into these markets. So I thought about that as well. 238 billion we topped. I think I don't know what that number is for. I have to research a little bit, so I don't know if that's for the month or the year or whatever, but anyway, it's a record amount of arms that we've sold. Basically, everybody that we got to send their arms over to the Ukraine, of course we promised them that we'd send them new stuff, and so making good on all those deals. It's our biggest business.
Although that obviously is, as we say, big business, but I do hear that there is a bit of a sort of calm at the moment on the geopolitical front. I understand, I even heard that Putin is actually potentially talking, about some sort of resolution there. There's a stalemate at the moment. Nobody's getting anywhere right now. So if that happens, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, it would be a big help for everybody, really, a big end to the suffering. That's what's needed. And even you said, what with Israel and Hamas, I understand they're still in talks for a truce there. So we could see at least a temporary, and let's hope
Yeah,
it's
I
more
think
permanent.
we're in for a temporary slowdown. People need to ship the arms around and stuff like that. People need to restock. But any type of piece. The thing is about people. Oh, it's just a short piece or whatever else. But sometimes if you do a short piece, it ends up lasting longer. So peace in general is a good thing. Stop the fighting. Stop the kill. Just stop the killing. As much as possible. So hopefully that works out over there in the Ukraine. David and I have spent quite a bit of time over there, and Russia as well, and wonderful people.
Yeah, they are great people. I mean, there's a lot of Russians and Ukrainians in Dubai.
Yes.
Tremendous business people, very hardworking, very smart people.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Yep. Both sides. Awesome.
Yeah, great. So we'll look forward to tomorrow's interest rate decision.
Yes. We'll be ahead of it. We'll be talking about it. I'll try to see if I can get some leaked insider information. I'll be working on it.
Well, it's really good to watch just as you get to the final, hours just before the actual rate decision. Really interesting to see how the markets will be positioning. People will. I don't position through these big events, but some people do take positions. They effectively gamble on what the outcome is going to be. So, be interesting just to see. We'll probably get some sort of flavor, but often a little bit like we discussed with the ETF, it could be a little bit of buy the rumor, sell the news again. So, what the prevailing expectation is for this, maybe the rumor that people will be. So, for example, if they're buying the rumor and then sell the news when the news comes out. So we can take a bit of a judgment call on that tomorrow and see what we think the rumor is and what people are buying. So that'd be interesting.
It will be. All right, awesome, Sir Matt. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, lovely to be here. Thank you, everybody, and look forward to tomorrow.
Talk soon.
Good show. Bye for now.
Cheers.
Bye.
So part of the underlying truth is about this whole thing is that the Fed is a privately held central bank that is controlling all of this stuff. So we're all at the whim of a group of families, and I know they got the board of governors and this and that and blah 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 blah. But I mean, we see kind of how Congress and everything operates. I mean, there's the Fed controls the purse strings. And so there's a group of families. The Federal Reserve was started by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the Morgans. There's some other families involved as well, but these families are basically setting the rates. And when they talk about the inflation rate and everything else, that's a tax. They just lied to us our whole lives. That is tax. When they talk about inflation, that is another tax. So when they say target inflation is 2%, that's the amount of tax that they want to take they decide that they get to take every year from the entire money supply. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It's a crazy scenario, David. What we have going on. Russia doesn't have a central bank. Syria doesn't have a central bank.
Yes. Well, it's funny when you listen to some of the crypto pitches and what their strategy is to do something similar is to control about 90% of the supply.
Yeah.
And that's what we see happening with our dollars.
They want to control. It's about control. And it's it's about control. So, I mean, I'm sure everybody saw, of course, Biden is decided that he is we're going to start bombing Iran, I guess. I don't know. He says he's going to decide, or he's going to, and the thing is, like, everybody just kind of sits there like, oh, why doesn't he have to go to Congress? Why doesn't he have to go to Congress? Well, he doesn't have to go to Congress because you don't make him go to Congress. I mean, that's the long and short of it.
Well, that's the truth, right? And I tried to push people that they have to stand up and participate as government. Otherwise, this other government is just going to do whatever they want. But if everybody stands and starts to take control, then we'll start to see that change.
The people are more powerful. We are more powerful. And I talked about it on stage last night. It was pretty interesting, and when I was talking about the things that we all agree on as people, you know what I mean? And we all of us want privacy, and we want to be able to own stuff, and we want freedom. And that's what the biggest thing that I saw over the years, and I'm sure you as well, of what blockchain did was it brought all those people together. And it didn't matter if you voted for this guy or you voted for that guy or who you voted for, because I mean, this propaganda has been running so deep anyway. I mean, who even knows? Most people don't even, a lot of people over the years past anyway, don't even really know why they voted for somebody. But it brought all of us together, and there we're all looking at each other, and that's now our common thread. And that's the monetary revolution. And the monetary revolution is real. And that is something very, very special. And we are actually the most powerful people, the most powerful group of people in the world. We just need to start really working together, coordinating with each other. I think doing the shows like this twice a day obviously gives us a big mic in order to do that, David. And then, you know, really just getting the word out so people understand. We do need to push back. We need to, and the thing is that I don't want conflict. I don't want war. And, you know, so the way that we do this peacefully, guys, to get involved, do this stuff peacefully, take the power back is to, and we're not financial advisors, to be clear, okay, but is to move the US dollars that you can into assets that can't be inflated, into gold, into silver, into Bitcoin, Litecoin, into Global Boost. Global Boost, our company, full disclosure, into Ave.io. Look at their token. It's actually doing amazing. You know, the thing is that this is the monetary revolution, and that is how we can peacefully fight back. It's how we can peacefully take the power back from them. And then when they inflate the dollar, what happens to those assets? Those assets go up. And that's normal. You know, this is how it is. And that's why your home has, you know, doubled in value over the last few years. You know, it's like unbelievable. I talked about it a few times. You know, it's like, I mean, it's like, why did the house go up so much? Oh, wow. It's really appreciated so well. It's worth so much more. Well, is it really worth that much more? Not really. It's not worth that much more gold. It's worth the same amount of gold now that it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Well, why is it double or triple the cost? Well, because you got diluted. You got diluted. Your dollars have been diluted. Thankfully, you had the house as a big hedge.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think that you can do something, then you can. And if you don't think that you can, then that's also true. You can't. So you really have to. If you think
you can, you're right. And if you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So
it is absolutely true.
Know that you can, have some belief in yourself, and push yourself a little, you know, live a little, get out there. It's actually a lot of fun once you get going.
Life is a lot of fun once you get going. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, guys, we are in revolutionary times. We're in historic times. And so, you know, take that for the moment that it is, you know, that was one of the things, like in Jersey, I'm there last night, and I'm telling you, man, it had this feeling of just being a historic meeting. And of course, now we're doing the shows all the time too. So I'm really on my game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, rah, this, that. I mean, you know, I had so much stuff in my quiver. I had so many arrows that I didn't use. I'm like, you know, these people aren't ready for this one. I'm not gonna talk about this one yet. You know, I'll talk about this other stuff now, because there's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And we need to be smart. We need to be really smart. You look at what's going on, guys, and you know, for especially, I know we have a large international audience as well, but especially for our Americans and for people in Texas that are watching on TV, and our local guys, our American people, they really. Any talk of, you know, taking up arms and, you know, oh, we're going to protect the border and, you know, come and get them and, you know, all this type of stuff, man. You guys, they are going to use that. They're going to try to use it against you. And they're going to try to say that you are a crazy person and you're calling for what's that?
Incompetent as well.
Incompetent, and that you're calling for bad things to happen. So be careful about that. Everybody knows that you know, obviously you want to protect your family and everything like that. But let's try this peaceful measure. Let's try this monetary revolution. Okay, let's try the peaceful way, because that's the way to do it. Okay, I want you guys, if you have gold or silver, or if you don't have gold or silver, go to @costmetals. @costmetals.club is is our site. It forwards you to @costmetals.com. Okay, with our referral link, which is clubs with the S, clubs. Okay, and you can join there. It's like $149 for the year, and you can buy gold, silver, palladium, platinum at cost. And there's another option there for $399. You can join free, and then $399, and that includes some silver. And if you just buy a silver, there's like a coin of the month type of thing. And if you just buy one silver MS30 coin every month, and you just put that on your thing, number one, you'll have 12 silver MS30 silver eagles at the end of the year that you can use for presents, or just keep them safe, or keep them at the vault, because there's digital vaults as well. Okay. And if you do that over the next 10, 20, 30 years, I mean, it's unbelievable the numbers that if you look at the last 20 years, if you bought one of those coins, what they're doing right now at $75 per month, you have like $827,000 worth of silver.
Yeah, a silver dollar used to be worth $1. Now it's worth.
That tells you how much.
26.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, depending on the silver dollar,
market price,
a lot more than that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, that's so. You want to know how we fight back, how we take the power back, how we are heard again, and that's part of it. Is you don't need a total run on the bank or anything like that, but that is kind of a bit of it, and then you have more money. And you have more money, then you have more power. That's what it's all about. That's why they want your money, because
the power is for you Americans out there. The power is in your Constitution, and it is in your Bill of Rights. And what you really need to know is your U.S. code, and then you'll really be able to protect yourself against anything that will happen, and use these precious metals and your crypto and your private property. To really be able to run yourself, and then you can really participate in these government structures that are operating.
There's a lot that David, he's got his quiver there too. He's holding back. You see that?
The what?
David's got his quiver there too. He's holding back. I'll just give you a little bit. Well, it's true, guys. Get involved. Thanks for tuning in. We really love doing the shows. We're going to continue to do it. Hats off to Flying Mackie and the Smart Money Culture television show or the network. We're live there in Texas and Louisiana. Millions of people that we're reaching. Told me the numbers of the amount of people that tune in every day, and it's humbling and it's exciting at the same time. So we'll continue to grow that. And we love all you guys, and it's really great to be able to come on here and talk to you guys and communicate and talk about what we need to do to save ourselves, because that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Impact Money on the Smart Money Culture TV network. Thank you, Bruce. See you soon.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.